Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Shannon, Shannon Van Sant. I hope I pronounced it correctly. It's an advisor to Committee of Freedom for Hong Kong,
Yeah.
一個香港嘅智庫組織啦。And she's in Toronto today. We just mentioned about the agony, the struggles that we had as Hong Kongers who are in the diaspora community just now, and then Shannon, this is more like a dialogue between us focusing on Hong Kong and the guests here. They will ask questions during the dialogue. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can share with us about your observation about the geopolitical challenges facing Hong Kong and China.
That sounds great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, should I introduce myself? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so as I'd introduced, I'm Shannon Van Sant, and I'm a strategy and public affairs advisor for the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong. And I work out of Washington, but I lead the foundation's work in Canada, as well as several projects in Washington. And this followed a career of about 11 years in China as a journalist, first for Chinese state media, and then for American media, reporting on human rights and other issues. And over the last few years, I've studied propaganda and foreign malign influence from China, Russia, and Iran. And so the foundation, though, we are very busy, and our main goal is to free Hong Kong's political prisoners. There are more than 800 people who are still in jail in Hong Kong for advocating for democracy. A couple of the most prominent people we're looking to free is Jimmy Lai, people like Joshua Wong, others. So I'm really honored to be here and to be of help.
Yeah. I guess it's for those who are incarcerated. I look at it as like three different groups. People who organize the alliance, group. They organize the candlelight vigil at Victoria Park. So we have Gwyneth Ho, Albert Ho, and Lee Chuk-yen. Mm-hmm. And then those who want to get into the primary. Some of them are already released, Claudia Mo and some others. And then the third group, it's with Echo Daily, with Jimmy Lai and the editorial and administrative team, right? Mm-hmm. Three different groups, and then the other 800 that you mentioned. In the U.S., I know where your group is based. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's a change of leadership from Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, to Republican right now. And President Trump mentioned to Hugh Hewitt that he would do something, and also Secretary of State Marco Rubio mentioned about he would really be putting a lot of effort in freeing the political prisoners of Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. So, but it seems like the U.S. has its own challenges right now. And then is the White House kind of prioritizing what it's needed? Because it seems like there is not a lot of talk from the White House about Hong Kong. So I want to get your take on it.
Yeah, well, I think the White House right now is prioritizing the trade war with China, but Hong Kong is a part of that. I mean, Hong Kong is a center of sanctions evasion, of illicit trade. A lot of the goods, the resources, the money between China and Hong Kong is the gateway. So it is a factor in the trade war. I don't think the Trump administration has forgotten Hong Kong at all. I mean, as you mentioned, Trump has promised to free Jimmy Lai twice. Marco Rubio has spoken about his support for Jimmy Lai. So they seem very, very supportive. And trade and economics sometimes seems to take the forefront, but I think they're very committed to human rights and democracy.
Right. And CFHK, they are based in DC, right? Mm-hmm. There must be a lot of opportunities for your group to work with the two main political parties. Mm-hmm. Also, some of the special groups for human rights, Chris Smith, I think it's it's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Any progress in terms of when I say progress, there are only a few different ways to look at it. Some people talk about sanctions. The other thing it's more of a long shot is a prisoner swap, if there's anything to swap, right? What is your observation so far? Are they kind of open to different ideas? Because we are not based in DC, we don't know.
Well, our foundation, we're not directly involved in that type of negotiation, so there is a firewall between Jimmy Lai's legal team and what we do. So we work really on legislation in the U.S., in Canada, in the UK, and we don't really work always directly on the strategies to free the political prisoners. So I can't really speak authoritatively to that. But I'm not sure. I mean, perhaps that's an idea in terms of a prisoner swap. I'm not sure how likely that would be or not. But I think from our perspective, anything that possible that would free the political prisoners is something we would probably advocate for and be in favor of.
Now you lived in China for quite a while. 11 years, right? Beijing, I guess.
Beijing,
part of it.
9 years. Hong Kong for the last 2.
Okay. I want to ask you. In the last 5 years or so, we could not commemorate Tiananmen, and I think this would go on forever, unless China is free one day, right? So all the commemoration is held outside of Hong Kong and China, pretty much moving forward. Just want to ask you personally, it seems like the attendance over the last few years is getting less and less. I think the peak was at 2019 when there were a lot of protests in Hong Kong, and even going to Victoria Park, there were over 100,000 people, maybe 150, 160. 160,000. So now we just had the commemoration at U of Toronto, Hart House, and also at the Mel Nasman Square on I think on June 1st. Lesser group, lesser people. Is it kind of like the democracy movement kind of died down everywhere globally, not just Tiananmen, but the Hong Kong movement, maybe even the Tibetan movement? Yeah. What is your observation? I know there was some commemoration in Washington, D.C. We saw it in the social media, but not big groups.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been in D.C. a couple of years. I was in Amsterdam before, so I don't have a point of comparison. But I think that people right now are debating democracy around the world. I think this idea of democracy and human rights is more important now than ever, and so in some ways people are paying more attention to it now than they did 20 years ago. In terms of China and Hong Kong, maybe some of the crowds commemorating these events have gotten smaller, but I don't think that means the sentiment is any smaller at all. And of course in Hong Kong, people are not allowed to commemorate these events anymore. But I mean, they still ring true, in people's hearts and people's minds around the world. So from my perspective, I think people actually, maybe not speaking only for the Hong Kong diaspora, of course, but I think that many people I know, or Americans I know, are more aware of the crackdown in China and the crackdown on democracy and human rights and freedoms than they were 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And what has happened in Hong Kong has shown the danger of what can happen when Beijing chooses to exert its power in that way. So I think there's actually more education and more awareness among the general public now, globally, than before.
Yeah. Well, some of us here actually, we went back to Hong Kong when Jimmy Lai was giving out his testimony. Yeah, and thank you for doing that. Maybe, well, one of us will make some comments later on. But again, we're talking about Jimmy Lai right now. He's 78 years old. And when I take a look at what Beijing has done for Joshua Wong, charging him the second time for NSL charges, sedition, secession, that sort of thing. I'm kind of afraid that there is a new rule that came out as well, saying that if Hong Kong judges are incapable of passing out a verdict or passing out a judgment, they could be tried in China, and then there's going to be no major broadcasters, whatever. I mean, they will not be covered in the news. It's a closed door thing, which is a very horrible idea. Probably you have heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? How do you feel about the progression? I mean, it seems like it's getting worse. We thought with I mean, like the trade war, we hope Xi Jinping and the CCP would compromise a bit, right? But it seems like they are not backing down.
Yeah, they're not backing down right now. And I think there's this push in China they feel very threatened by the democracy movement, of course, and by the diaspora. And so that's why they're placing bounties on people's heads and really kind of treating the diaspora, Hong Kong, all these communities around the world as one China, as opposed to recognizing that people have autonomy of thought and feeling and action. And that's why they're exerting so much control. So, I mean, I think the crackdown and the harsher measures also is a reflection of their fear. Because if they weren't so fearful and insecure, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing now. So I think they're more fearful now, even maybe than a year ago or 2 years ago, perhaps. And yeah.
You went to Ottawa quite recently. We had a change of leadership, not really real change, but also from Liberal to Liberal, just a change of leader. But the MPs, the Member of Parliament, there's a new group of people. Some who follow the Hong Kong issues, who really care about people that I know, at least 2 or 3 are still there. One MP from Alberta, one MP from British Columbia, one who was originally from Hong Kong, the other one that's a local Canadian. I just don't want to mention their names publicly. What is your feel? I mean, with this new group of MPs, are they acutely aware of what's going on in Hong Kong? Because the Wang Wanzhou and the 2 Michaels incidents was not too long ago, and then they arrested, detained 2 Michaels, right, for more than 1,000 days. Yeah. What is your observation?
You mean?
Are they acutely aware about the so-called conflict between Canada and China, and also Hong Kong, the Hong Kong issues?
Is the Canadians aware?
The Canadian,
Oh,
Canadian MPs.
Well, you know, the ones that I meet with are incredibly supportive.
Highly supportive.
Yeah, and so I find that most of the people I meet with are extremely supportive.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the general Canadian public isn't so focused on Hong Kong. But the people I know in Parliament really are, and so I'm always like excited to meet with them, always excited to exchange ideas, and I think that, you know, for the many ones that I've met, Hong Kong, democracy, China, it's a priority. And they know they're quite unified, quite principled in their beliefs in terms of what matters in terms of those issues. And so that hasn't changed at all, and that's been great. Yeah.
And how about the diaspora groups in the U.S.? Do they still have that fire inside of them, that fire burning from within? I briefly mentioned about the attendance was kind of diminished a little bit, not dying down, but diminish. But do you think that the spark from within? I mean, it go through cycles, as we all know. But how about the U.S. and it seems like if the U.S. is not leading this, and Canada sometimes they kind of follow.
Yeah.
And if the spark is not there from the U.S., it's scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of change right now in the world. So, I think there's just a lot that's shifting. But in some ways, it makes people more aware of these values and these principles and these issues. And maybe there will be some different realignments or new alliances formed. And maybe Canada will be a leader in some of these issues going forward. Because the MPs I've met in Ottawa, they're pretty clear about their values, what they believe in.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an opportunity for other groups as well to show leadership on these issues. I think in the U.S., at least among the China-focused people that I know, because of the crackdown in Hong Kong, people are more aware of some of the worst things that can happen. Whereas when I moved to China, say in 2006, 2007, I think a lot of people had a lot of hopes for China. They believed in the best. They didn't necessarily believe that the worst things were possible. But Hong Kong showed some of what is possible.
Yeah.
So I think people are more aware now. And these are principled things. So whether no matter what country you're protesting in, obviously it isn't. These aren't things that are just a problem with the CCP, but authoritarianism is a problem around the world. So people are waking up to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I think it's important for especially youth to be educated about these issues and understand what does it mean to live in a democracy, what does it mean to live under an authoritarian government, and for people to continue to feel that flame.
Yeah. Well, two of your colleagues, they're on the bounty list, Francis Hui and also Chloe, right? Yeah. I guess the Hong Kong government looked at CFHK as an anti-Hong Kong, anti-China group for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is sad. I mean, we just want, I guess a lot of Hong Kongers overseas, they want Hong Kong to be the good old Hong Kong, good old one country, two systems, without China's interference. But they somehow failed. And then somehow all these arrests and also bounties makes Hong Kong become quite more than surreal, I would say. Yeah, it's not a good place to do international business anymore.
No, it really isn't. And then we have our legislation about. We have had legislation recently introduced in the U.S. Congress on Hong Kong as a center of illicit finance, where we're a bipartisan group of congressmen have called for the determination of Hong Kong as a primary money laundering concern.
Yeah.
But that's an example of some of the measures that can be taken to sort of show Hong Kong and the risks that do exist there. And it's not a great place to do business when you don't have rule of law, when you don't have democracy, when people have bounties placed on their heads.
Right.
But it's amazing how Hong Kong and the CCP try to use propaganda to sort of appeal to different people around the world and say, oh, actually, come and it's like the old Hong Kong. Come and do business here. It's not.
And it's quite hypocritical too when they talk about promoting Hong Kong as an arbitration center.
Yeah.
You realize that, and then they a lot of critics they are very suspicious of Hong Kong is used as a money laundering center.
Yeah.
Right. So it's quite ironic.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really ironic. I mean, I think that, but you've seen that also in terms of Hong Kong's fortunes. I mean, a lot of companies
Yeah.
have left Hong Kong. State Department has a travel warning. I think the Canadian government does too.
Yes.
And you simply just can't have a proper business
Yeah.
without freedom. And Jimmy Lai made that case many times before he was arrested. So he was right.
Well, I don't know, like next year, 2026, our group, which also organized the World Hong Kong Forum, we were toying with the idea of organizing the forum in Hong Kong if the political changes in a more positive way, meaning some of them, more people will be released and maybe there will be some sort of a political prisoner swap, but I don't see that from happening right now in 2025 in June.
Yeah.
Seems like things are not going for the better.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really scary time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. And
Right.
yeah, I think you're right. And it's a shame because it would be so easy, I think, for Hong Kong or for Beijing to make a different choice,
Yeah.
to join the rest of the world in greater freedoms and to uphold those values the way Hong Kong used to. It would be such
Right.
an easy thing to do. But they seem to be making these self-destructive choices, and it's unfortunate.
And I talked to your group too. When the Alliance group it's up for the trial dates, we'll be organizing something in Western Canada and Taipei, and definitely at that time we'd like to invite CFHK to be a strong panel group of people who will be organizing different talks around that in that space.
Okay.
Yeah, focusing more on Hang Tung Chow and Li Cheuk-yen and Albert Ho. Yeah.
That's great.
Should we just open maybe to the floor, see whether people who are here want to ask anything, and we will not show the faces, of course.